I'm Jess Claire. So I'm head of product and marketing in MVP Ventures, and I head up the Zingify product as well. So Jay's going to go into a bit more detail about what Zingify is and what MVP is. But Zingify is a platform company that was developed by MVP Ventures, which is going to be far more relevant for you by the end of this conversation. But yeah, that's really all I usually, when we do have events, I go into product innovation and I talk about that. But today it's really just going to be Jay's going to go into the real guts of this conversation that I think is far more relevant. But if you need anything, if you have any issues or you want some of the links or anything during this conversation, do message me. You can private message me. You'll see me talking a little bit anyway on the chat. But otherwise, I will just hand it over to you, Jay, and we can get into this. And we're going to make this or try to make this as engaging as possible for a Zoom online event that I know everyone loves because it's great and convenient. But sometimes these conversations can be challenging, but we want to make this as engaging and also because the content is really, really potent and relevant for everyone here.
Excellent. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll get started. For those of you who don't know me, we have been connected on LinkedIn. My name is Jai Pandya. Before my life in Australia, I used to be a medical doctor back in India, and since 24 years, I've been in a tech industry in Brisbane, and I live in Brisbane. I'm the CEO and a founder of two businesses, MVP Ventures, and another company called Zingify. Okay. I really want to welcome you, but I want to tell you a little bit about me. Today is not really like a traditional webinar that you just listen while you're cooking in the background, maybe attending to the kids. It's time of the evening, maybe having your dinner, and all of that is okay. As long as I would just highly encourage you to see as much as you can be here in the present because there's a lot of content that we're going to get through. But at the same time, I don't want this to be a one-way monologue. Definitely eating, Scott. Absolutely. It's a dinner time. I don't want this to be a monologue. I encourage your participation as much as you can. Feel free to use the chat that Zoom provides if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to raise. Jess, who is my colleague, is going to open up questions. So definitely pay attention to what's going on in the chat. But just try and be here as much as you can, okay? Let me start with a little bit about me. Who is Jay, right? For next 90 minutes to 120 minutes, you have chosen to spend this evening with us. So I'm going to cover who is, a little bit about me. And then we want to look at who is here, okay? Who is attending tonight. Normally, we would do this kind of events in Brisbane in person. We hold them at Brisbane Powerhouse. And we would about have 40, 50 people, great CEOs, business leaders who attend. And tonight, given the feedback we have received, can we do this online so people who are not in Brisbane can attend? We are doing this online, right? So I'm going to give you a chance to say a little bit about you, at least just your name, what company you are from. That's going to make a big difference for the rest of us who is here. And if you can keep your camera on, great. We encourage you to do so. If you can't, that's understandable. No problem. Okay. So a little bit about me. I've been here in Brisbane for 24 years now. Originally born and raised in India. Used to be a medical doctor before my current career. I left medicine in 1998 and transitioned my career to technology. For a number of years, I have been in consulting business on digital transformation, project program management, and various of those initiatives. I have managed about $500 million of technology investments from strategy to execution. And for last, it's now been 6 years, 6.5 years, just over. I've been running the company called MVP Ventures. And MVP Ventures was started with a view that we can create disruptive technology companies right here from Brisbane, right here from Australia. We don't have to be necessarily in Silicon Valley. So part of the commitment we have was just really bring the knowledge, the ecosystem, and contribute to developing and building the ecosystem right here in Australia. That's the commitment we have. And that's the company that we started in, it's been 6 years, 6.5 years in the journey so far. Over the last 6 years, we have conceptualized the digital transformation strategy from a traditional bricks and mortar business or a service business to a digital native from day one type of platform company. About 60 companies that way that we have worked with, and 14 of them have been launched, and I should say 5 of them now in a 6-figure revenue, right? So in our journey, 6 years is a small period of time, and that's what we have done so far. And then I'm going to talk a bit more about Zingify a little later, which is our platform company. Okay, let's just go into who is here, and I want to open up the meeting with. By the way, there's one more thing I forgot to say before I go into who is here. Right? Is you go into watching content, participating in webinars, etc. Right? One thing I have to tell you, there is a lot of dense content. I have about 65 slides I'm going to go through with you, a lot of data, a lot of evidence of what is happening in the industry and the business and what we are seeing from our lens. Sometimes, and I have received the feedback, including Jess and some other people, I can be boring because I'm covering a lot of information. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not promising dopamine hits. I'm a sometimes educator and researcher at a heart, and I'm going to cover a lot of content. So I'm certainly not promising entertainment or TikTok videos, and I encourage and invite your participation, right? That's all what I would say. So don't expect entertainment. I promise you a lot of value of what is happening in an AI disruption and a platform disruption and a platform play, and what can you do with your business without necessarily knowing the tech. There's a lot of things in that space that we'll be covering. Okay, so let's just open up a little bit. I would love who would be brave, who would be willing to be unmute themselves and just introduce yourself. You can cover 3 things: your name, the company you're from, and why are you here? Just those 3 things, if you can cover, that'll be great. John, let's start with you.
Go on then. So I'm John Lewis, and I'm one of the named founders of Lewis Walcott. Lewis Walcott is a consultancy services business. We've got about 50 consultants across Australia in Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth. And we also have a technology company that makes commercial tech, and we've been making that commercial tech for about 6 years. And we've got 2 key products. One's our smart product that provides productivity analysis for construction projects. And then we've got a data analytics tool called Logic Plus that runs schedule analysis for optimization of construction projects and construction schedules. So an engineering focused firm. And obviously I'm here to try and work out how we can scale the technology business specifically.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for sharing and being the first one. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Who would be the next one willing to introduce yourself?
I think I can go.
Please go ahead.
Sorry to Mecca here. I do apologize. I am home and doing some daddy duties, so I'll be quiet in the background while I listen.
Yes.
And my kids might occasionally interrupt me when I'm speaking, so I do apologize. But my name is Emeka. I'm the CEO and founder of Neticare. We've been in operation. Can you just give me 5 minutes, please? 5 minutes, please. We've been operating for about 4 years, sorry. Entering into our 5th year now. As a healthcare service provider, we started off first in the NDI space, and then we over time pivoted into NISCU, aged care, child needs services, DVA, became accredited on the DVA, which has been quite fun. And now we are pivoting even further and looking at opportunities for mergers and acquisitions across the board, and using technology to kind of automate and simplify some of our tasks and make things more efficient, to reduce the load for overhead that healthcare space requires. So I guess it kind of piqued my interest in understanding what that might be and what a forum like this might bring for us.
Awesome. Thank you. How do I pronounce your name? I'm trying to read the name and I couldn't.
Just Emeka is probably the best option.
Okay, Emeka. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else? We have time for 2 more people. I would love to hear.
I'm happy to jump in.
Yes, Paul, please.
Evening all.
Milo, cut it out.
Please go ahead,
I
Paul.
behave now. Come on, Milo. Yes. Good evening. My name is Paul Klotz. As you can probably see from the screen, I live in Bundaberg. My life is an interesting one. I spent 30 plus years in senior management in IT and telco land before a number of life factors changed. I now work and serve on about 20 plus different national lived experience committees across childhood sexual abuse, mental health, suicide prevention, domestic violence, obviously disabilities and chronic health. And as you can see, I'm just a couple of days out of major surgery. So what I try and do is utilize my previous business acumen and influence how government and policy actually delivers the services across all of those sectors out there, because it's quite critical. And I always bring a very strong male background to it, because males tend to be forgotten in that space, but more importantly, the regional impacts. When we talk about technology and AI and digital health and all those things, that they tend to be focused very much on the city-centric models out there, and they forget about the regional areas. We don't always have that capacity. For me, this is just keeping abreast of what's happening in the landscape out there, so I can push back on government and just call, excuse my French, BS when I need to, and say that's not going to work in regional.
So, yeah, great, Paul. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. We have time for one more person. Who would be willing to introduce yourself?
I can do that, Jay, if you like.
Yes, please, Neil, take it over.
Okay, and just to say, I appreciate the invite tonight. Very kind of you and Jez. Thank you very much. Neil Blount is my name. I work for probably the world's largest ratings and data and analytics organisation. My history is in insurance, and so I try and sort of bring those two things together. Currently, I'm looking at automating underwriting and automating claims, and we've got a number of work streams underway at the moment. And I'm also focusing now on using data and analytics really to counter fraud in the marketplace as well. So it's interesting to sort of join the dots tonight and listen to you and Jez, Jay.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for being here.
Let's
keep moving on. But what I would love for those of you who haven't had a chance to just introduce yourself, Mark, Scott, Patrick, Karen, if you'd be kind enough to just maybe share a little bit about you on the chat, that'll be great. The name, your company you're from, and what's specific of interest to you. That way, everybody here, imagine like this is like a working opportunity. It's going to be a great if you can do that. Okay. Let me go back to what we are here for and what we have to share with you. Okay. So, and some of you had a chance to share what do you expect from today, right? And why are you here? And those of you who haven't had a chance to share, I just really request you that you use the chat bot, the Zoom chat facility to actually share what your expectations are, because I want to make sure that I'm upfront with you what expectations I can meet versus what expectations I can't necessarily meet for tonight. Okay, so if I can know what you expect, I can do my everything to really deliver on the value of your critical time that you chose to spend with us tonight. Okay. Right. So one thing I want to start with upfront here, everyone, is today will be valuable if you have influence, power, and ability to shape the strategic direction of your business. Tonight is a very strategic conversation, not necessarily tactical, but strategic, right? So if you're someone who can't really influence that, I don't know how valuable tonight will be for you, okay? You got to be in a position to choose what spectrum of the AI and a platform opportunity your business will play in today and this decade. So that's where today is going to be focused on. It's about not get rich quick tonight or how do I hit my revenue goals this quarter. Tonight's really more of an opportunity of how do you play and how do you make choices for this disruptive era that we find ourselves in. And if you have an influence, power, and ability to shape the future of the company you are in and you're leading, this is going to be very valuable. I promise you that. Okay. So what are the things that I'm going to covering? Well, I'm going to be covering your blueprint for how do you transform your businesses. Each one of us are confronted with some level of transformation of our business. that is required right now, right? So I'm going to cover the what is it going to take? Where are the AI opportunities as we see, and how do you harness them, right? I'm going to cover that. How is the future of the business emerging? We will cover examples of various companies that are leveraging AI and digital platforms to really reimagine the future of their business, literally transforming the current business model, traditional products and services business, to actually tomorrow's company. We will cover various examples and case studies of our clients as well as what we observe in general industry. Okay, so these are the things that we will cover. As many of you might know, this at the end of the session, I will have an offer for you. I'm not going to disappoint you. Our offer will be to work with us, to work with me, and shape your AI and a platform strategy and a plan to execute for in your business. That's what something I will have towards the end, and that's what I will be covering tonight. Okay, so let's get into it, right? So here's the context before we get into the core content. Is see, context is always important. What's the environment in which the business is happening? If each one of you, if you examine as a business leaders, and there are business leaders on this call, right? What is the environment in which the business is happening? What's the experience? And if you take a moment to allow yourself to actually experience your experience of leading today's business, it is shaped by our environment. Each one of us as an individual, we have our own thoughts and feelings and emotions and how we perceive reality, but at the same time, our reality and thoughts and feelings and emotions are also shaped by the environment. So it's important to pay attention to the environment in which the business, April 2024, is actually happening in front of us, right? And I kind of try and capture this. The business disruption is relentless. We have AI. Most of you are here from the AI. There's a AR and VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, shaping user experiences and customer interactions. We have 5G and Internet of Things. We have robotics, consumer preferences. The consumer preferences are changing and moving so fast. There's a 3D printing, there's blockchain, and I don't mean crypto investments. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about blockchain as a technologies. There's a war going on in our world. There are a number of wars happening. There's an environment of high inflation, and then the politics is become quite unique and weird lately, right? The polarization that we have seen in our world over the last few years, I think I would say 2006 onwards, 2016 onwards, if you look at all those forces combined, and then you and I are building our companies and our businesses in this environment, right? And it's appropriate that we contextualize our experience and our strategies and our actions and whatever we feel, maybe what keeps us awake at night in this context. There is this relentless disruption, not just technology, but economic and a social and a political factors that's actually impacting our experience of leading and building businesses, right? And this is an important context for us to keep in mind. If you look at and pay attention to some mega trends, we know the tech platforms are changing and disrupting every industry, and the business model is changing. AI is changing everything. That's really not just customer acquisition or a marketing, or you can create a new copy via ChatGPT and you have a landing page and a new design. That I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the deep impact that AI is driving in a business model. If you look at a customer trend, the attention of a customer is very fickle. The cost of acquisition has continued to be higher and higher and higher, right? What marketing is going to work and what's not going to work, you don't really know ever. Loyalty is reduced and expectations of customers are very high, and that's the customer lens. And then you have an economy with a high inflation. The cost of capital is so high, and the forecast of a slowdown. You continuously hear this economic slowdown happening, yada yada yada. And then you look at the people in our companies, right? Our colleagues, our employees, they want freedom, they want autonomy, but they lack the new age skills and the loyalty that is necessary, that you and I would want as a business leaders from our teams. They lack those skills, they lack the loyalty, but they want autonomy, they want flexibility, they want the high pay. And these are the current trends. not just what you and I are experiencing in our organizations, but I think this is a worldwide mega trend that's impacting the overall environment in which the business is happening. And for us, as I said, this is not a short, quick answer. This is really more about the strategic choices that we will make today that will influence the future of our business over the next 3 years, 5 years, and this decade, right? That's what tonight is about. So, amongst all that is an environment, where are you? And you might find yourself into one of these 5 positions, right? Relax. Some of us might, but just relax. It's okay. Things will work out, right? Or you might position to, what do you mean? Like completely ignorant and putting one's head in the sand to, I'm not worried about it, right? But really angry and upset with what's happening and our inability to put our hands on it, or really very excited. Number 4 position, like I can't wait, bring it on, right? To what's going on? What are you talking about? Number 5. And you might find yourself in one of those 5 positions. And I would love to hear from you if you can put something on the chat of what position you find yourself in. Just put a number and to express this is where you are at personally in a current environment in which the business is happening, right? It'll be great if I'm just going to give you 10 seconds, just put a number, reflect on your experience, see where you find yourself. Go to the Zoom chat and put a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to express where you find yourself. If you don't find yourself any of the 5 positions, put number 6 and what that might be. That'll be great. 5. Number 5 is, it's like you're lost, right? It's the feeling of number 5. What's going on? I don't know. What are you talking about? AI platforms, that's like number 5, right? Yeah, thank you. So someone says 5. Karen, number 2. Circle leadership, number 4. Yeah, please put that on what position you find yourself in. That'll be great, right? Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's just whatever place you and I might find ourselves in. I have gone through, for me, if I talk about myself, I've gone through from I can't wait to I'm not worried about it, to I'm very worried about it, to impact on the business, to what do you mean, right? I kind of, sometimes I would have a single day where I would gravitate between various spaces, right? So that's logical and that can happen. So and in our work, these are the questions that CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners are raising with me and with us and our team. How do I use AI? What will AI do to our business? Will our business survive? Who do I trust and believe? You see so many influencers and content creators on TikTok and LinkedIn and Facebook, all this noise, this summit and the workshops and the seminars. Tonight is another of those evenings. Who do you trust? Who do you believe? How do you make better investment decisions? End of the day, as business leaders, you got to make some good investment choices. How do you make them better? Right? Are you good? Am I good enough to carry the day? Right? You have to kind of go through those questions. And I appreciate if you have those questions and that's what you grapple with. So overall, how is the future emerging, right? Look, as we know, that traditional business is a while ago. I'll just request you, so if you're not talking, please mute your line. That will make sure that we can continue to go without interruption, okay? But if you see how the business is emerging, AI-powered platforms are disrupting what I call the linear value chain businesses, the traditional businesses. And now, over next decade, we will see AI platforms plus decentralization will practically take over and disrupt and change all the industry. And what do I mean by disruption here is the fundamentals of business is how do you create value? How do you exchange value, right? End of the day, you and I are in business and you can only survive in business if you are delivering value to the customers and to the marketplace. So the moment you stop creating value, there is no business. And how you create value is changing through AI and platforms. Very important question of how the value creation is happening and how the value exchange is happening. That's what's changing, and that's what we are confronting next 10 years, right? Practically across all the industries. So I talk a lot about platform as a business model, and I hate that this slide gets busy. I've yet to figure out a way to make this not busy. But essentially, every time I have spoken at various conferences, people take pictures of this slide. Feel free to take a picture of this slide. None of this is copyrighted. I've been inspired this from an author called Platform Revolution, Sangeet Paul Chaudhary's book. But if you look at the business model, and I think every business needs to examine their business model, and from a traditional product and services business model to a platform business model, where if you look at the traditional business model, even if I look at take my example as our business model, MVP, right? As a service business, you have a idea of something, there's a design of something, and then the delivery of that, and then there's a value creation, and then there's an exchange of value. That's what you can say a linear step. You can have a massage therapy business to software development business, or a legal services or accounting business. As a service business, you have a linear value chain, sequential steps of value that creates the value, and in the end, customer pays the dollars, the fees for the value exchange. Platform businesses has changed the fundamentals. And this business model, in a way, is relatively new in a schema of things. The way we know business has been around for 200, 300, 400 years. Traditional business has been around, but platforms came into existence last 2 decades, where producer and consumer are interacting on a platform and exchanging value. And the more the value exchange happens, it's growing with usage. There is this element of network effects where the one side of the market makes the platform more valuable for the other side of the market. We know about Uber as an example, and then people have an ability to switch the roles between consumers and producers. So I love to use the example of YouTube. Some of you might be very familiar with the characteristics of the platform business model. Some of you might not be. I'm going to assume you're not familiar with these characteristics. So I'm going to speak to and give examples on it, right? Very important that we apply this thinking to our business models, whatever the business you might be in, right? So I love to use an example of YouTube. I upload a video of my son playing sport, and I invite my family and friends, including some of you guys, hey, watch this video. Now, I'm in a role of a video producer, content producer, and you are in a role, you watch the video that I uploaded, you are consuming that video, right? At the same time, YouTube gives you an ability to upload your own video. That's a good example of switch roles between producers and consumers. And those businesses who actually created a technology infrastructure and the way their value exchange happens, where participants, not necessarily customers, customers can be partners and suppliers can also become customers. They can switch the roles. That's one of the key characteristics of a platform company like Uber or Airbnb or YouTube. And that's an important characteristic for us to learn and pay attention to. Integrations with the other platforms, plug and play model is another key characteristics for a platform and a tech companies. A fundamental principle from a business model perspective is it's a co-creation of value. I love to say competition is stupid. Competition, you got to pay attention to the competition. However, what if you can actually create a business and a platform company where your competitors become either partners or customers? That's the shift that we have seen, driven from a platform business model. And the competition becomes a source of revenue for us because we created something that is of value to them, and they end up playing with us, partnering with us, or actually buying our products and becoming customers. And that's the thing that we need to start thinking about. How do we apply these principles? The key principles on which foundation of Zero as a software company or an accounting platform or a Uber or Airbnb, these are the principles that created these multi-billion dollars companies that has really captured a massive market share. These are the principles that underpin the business model. We need to pay attention to this principle and see how do we apply these principles to look at the future of our business model, where the role is shifting to become a provider of the infrastructure of hardware and software infrastructure, where producers and consumers in your marketplace actually come and interact on top of the platforms, where you actually play a role of not being a mere participant in the industry, where your business participates in the wider industry, but how do we actually govern the interactions that are happening between producers and consumers? How do we shift your businesses to actually take a governance role to practically make the rules of the game in the how your industry operates versus being merely a participant? If we don't do this thinking and apply these principles now, I think we are criminals or ignorant at best, right? So, and how do we foster, how do we use the data and AI to foster right behavior? I don't want to talk about AI as create next landing page or a marketing image or a copy. I want to talk of AI about in a more on a strategic space, and that's more about using the data to really foster right behavior in your industry, not in your within the business, but out in the marketplace. See, these thinking is going to be vital for us as we move forward, and the companies who adopt these principles, shift their business model, is going to have the biggest chance of winning the market share in the game of business over next few years. And we have seen plenty of examples of that, right? Here are my key assertions. And when you make any assertion, you got to have an evidence to back it, right? I'm going to go through each one of them one by one, and I'll go through the evidence why I make these assertions. Platform business model gives the power to shape the rules of the game, not just in your business, but actually in your industry. And no other business model, in my view, and this is my point of view, no other business model is actually giving that kind of power and influence the way the platform business model is. The next one is, and companies who are actually shaping the rules of the game will take the biggest market share. There is a saying, winner takes it all. We have seen a lot of that with companies like Uber or Airbnb, but we have also seen copycat competitors, Didi and Ola, and in a ride-sharing economy. However, Uber continues to maintain the biggest market share, right? Is the biggest revenue, and they are the leaders, while the others are left to be victims of the rules that they have shaped, right? And the number three as an assertion is AI plus platform. So you got to have two phenomena. It's not just AI, it's AI plus platform as a business model. Those two things together is what's impacting, influencing, and shaping the future of every industry. The products, the services, the people, the culture, and the profitability matrix, no matter what matrix you look at it, it's the combination of those two things. It's not one thing isolated, but it's two things combined is what's really driving the disruption, and we will continue to see that more and more of that. It's like disruption on steroids, right? These are my assertions, and I want to share some of the data with you to back my assertions, right? So we have seen the Amazon. I sometimes I have to wonder, right? Do I use Amazon, Uber, Airbnb as an example because it's kind of chewed up? Everyone knows about it, but that's also the weakness and the strength where everyone knows about it. It's familiar. It's easy to comprehend what I'm actually talking about. It's not about the content. It's the point that I'm making here, right? Is Amazon did change the rules of the game of the retail industry as a whole. What rules did Amazon change? How suppliers sells and consumers buy the product. How the products are priced. Amazon has phenomenal power on the pricing and the unit economics. How the products are distributed, the distribution supply chain that they have built. Amazon shapes the platform business model to actually shape how the products are distributed. Can you even imagine drop shipping as a business before Amazon existed? Mostly not. Not before the year 2000, right? How the upselling and cross-selling looks like. AI algorithms on Amazon, the best recommendation algorithms, has actually altered how the retail industry should operate, right? That was the innovation that Amazon bring. Again, I don't want you to pay attention to what I'm talking about as Amazon. It's about the principles that Amazon's used to actually change the game of the industry, right? And the customer experience is one of the biggest things that there are zillions of YouTube videos that Bezos talks about, right? So that's what we're talking about. The next one is market share, right? Just let's look at some financial data. In my research, I found this slide. On the left side of, you see the forecast, the historical revenue figures of a retail industry companies in 1990s to 2012, right? You see Amazon is at number 10 at the bottom of the list. Whereas Walmart has been an industry leader since 1990 to 2012. Okay, that's Amazon revenue was number 10, $34 billion. Fine. Now you look at here in last 10 years growth, Amazon had 1,025% growth in over 10 years. This is a top line revenue growth versus Walmart, top line revenue growth has been 178%. Walmart still maintains the industry leadership in the retail industry. However, let's look at the forecast. It's only happened in last 10 years, right? And then here's the forecast where this was 2018 data. The data covers from 1996 to 2018, where Amazon was forecasted to exceed Walmart net income revenue. We have to wonder, we have to ask the question, how come? And my answer, when I ask the question, how come, I, along with a bunch of factors, think it's the business model that Amazon has adopted, and our use of AI plays a vital role in the kind of market share that Amazon has captured. Here's the forecast from 2020 to 2029. 10% year-on-year growth rate that Amazon experiences and enjoys. And I should move my position. There has been a prediction. This is a little bit of a 2022, just 2021, where Amazon would outpace Walmart revenue. That's been the forecast, right? So why am I covering all that? Is I presume that you all want to build a highly valued business. Ultimately, you and I are in business. We want to make a big impact, make a big valuation of the company that we do, and really reach millions of consumers, right? That's what I want to do, and I presume that that's what you want to do. And the AI and platform companies are valued very high compared to traditional businesses. And being in a ventures business, I spend a lot of my time with private equity and venture capital community. And one of the key things that I see over and over again is that traditional service business valuations, multiples of 1.5 to 2 of your profits. You're lucky you get 3 or 4 multiples of your EBITDA. If you are a product-based company, you have a little bit more leverage. You have a multiples of 5 or 7x of your EBITDA. Platform companies, we see over and over and over again, enjoys the valuation multiples of 10x, 20x, 50x, 1000x, in some instances, stupid million-x scenario. I think the example that really got me interested in a finance and a valuation of the companies was when WhatsApp was acquired by Facebook for $19 billion, and WhatsApp's revenue was $1.1 million, right? So for a company where 119 people existed, the total staff members funded by VCs, and revenue of this is a top line revenue, total gross revenue of $1.1 million, and go and figure out the multiples, right, of the top line. So that's what really got me interested in the valuations. And I asked the question, and I study this topic passionately. What is it that's driving such a high valuation that platform companies command compared to traditional businesses, right? I want to show you this video of Bezos. I think it's a great example. Give me a moment. Let me bring that up. I think it'll give a pretty phenomenal perspective into what I'm sharing here. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this video that I'm sharing. Let me make this bigger. It's a 48-second clip. Watch this.
Here's the thing I don't understand. The company is worth billions. Yes. And every time I pick up the paper, each year it loses more money than it lost the year before. The company's never made a profit. That's right. Why? How does that, what? Seems like a new math, doesn't it? It does. Yeah. I mean, it's to someone who doesn't know anything about this. It's amazing. We lost $12 billion last year and we're doing great. Well, there are a whole series of Doonesbury cartoons about this. This is not a new phenomenon. We are a famously unprofitable company, right. And we are investing in the future. It's not, which isn't unusual. Companies have done this before. What's a little surprising about Amazon.com is the scale which we're doing it. We're doing it in a big way. I see. So you just keep reinvesting. We're reinvesting. Now here's the thing I don't understand. The company is worth billions. Yes.
That was 48 seconds, right? Now that was 1999. And you and I wish that we bought Amazon shares in 1999, didn't you? That'll be pretty amazing. I'll just go back to my presentation. I think the point here is it's that foresight The mathematics, the finance principles are applied very differently to the platform companies compared to how they are applied to a traditional product and services business. And I do include, let me go back to the slide we were on originally. Okay, we were on this slide, right? So the math has changed.
Hello, my baby.
Companies. Sorry, can you please everyone mute your line? That'd be great. Thank you. So the mathematics has changed. Instead of fighting and arguing against that mathematics, I rather understand how that mathematics and what are those principles in those valuations that's really important, and then try and apply that to our businesses, right? So what shapes valuations? Well, the traditional metrics, your EBITDA, your revenue trends. By the way, EBITDA, your earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, allowances, right? Your revenue trends, your profit margins, your customer personas, who are you selling to? Your industry size, the total size of the industry. Are we operating in a Brisbane market? Are we operating in a Queensland market, Australian market? And by the way, in a schema of things, Australian market is actually very small when you look at the global markets, right? So that's the size of the industry. The strength and depth of the management, competitive advantages. These factors do affect valuation of the companies. None of this is new. How do they, and so you have to ask the question of why do the platform companies gets valued so high? Well, 10x, 20x, 40x is okay, is very acceptable. Again, I was doing some research in Xero accounting company. I took this couple of screenshots. The valuation of the accounting software Xero, forward PE, forward price to earnings ratio, multiples of 93. That was last year. Today, that's on the right side, still 143x. So kind of we have to ask the question, right? Uber, I came across this Instagram reel, says Uber's earnings growth over next 5 years is expected to be 1,742%. Whereas we all know, recent media reports, Uber just became profitable in 2024. Last 12 years, Uber has continued to hemorrhage investor money. And traditional accountants, traditional finance and CFOs would go, makes zero sense. Why would you value company so high? Why do investors believe in it? Why do people invest in it? Is the future's earning potential. And while Uber started as a transport sector, it's actually entered into planes, boats, food, and delivery of goods and goods, right? Parcels. So starting with one niche, it's actually expanded into a number of multiple niche, and its last 10 years, it's invested into growth and a market share, right? We know this. These are the things that we have to pay attention to. So factors, what factors are driving these valuations along with the platform business model, where the data is the fuel of AI. If you don't have the data, we cannot. The startups, last 10, 15 years, I'm passionate about startups. Lots of startups play a disruptive role, but in fact, AI incumbents have a lot of power. Big companies, big traditional businesses, a lot of power because they have a lot of data. Yes, the data is probably very dirty, not very well structured and ready for use in AI. Nevertheless, there is a lot of data that big traditional corporations command and has accumulated, and that data is the fuel for AI and can be and will be used and is being used to capture value. The margins of the platform companies, the operating margins are very high, and that's again an underlying cause of the high valuations. The market share opportunities, again, something that I covered earlier, winner takes a very big bite, if not all, right? And it's now possible. I was watching this video, Elon Musk talking about, and I love to follow the guy. Well, the company, Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, it is now possible for companies less than 10 people to actually reach a $1 billion plus valuations. It is so possible, so feasible, and that kind of thinking or imagination does not exist so much in our business realm or the traditional thinking. Part of what I get very passionate about is that's possible. We need to play that game. Big market, start here, 5 people company, sell to global customers is very much a doable and a possible realm. And it's just an ignorance of imagination if we cannot imagine how to do that, right? Ability and opportunity to expand into new verticals. I just gave you an example of Uber starting with a taxi and a ride sharing to actually food delivery to transport of parcels to boats and planes as an entire vertical starting from a niche, right? And investors still want more than average returns in a high inflationary environment that we have experienced since 2022. And the last factor is AI is taking and attracting all the money that you can ever imagine right now. So if you kind of combine all these factors, valuation continue, and I just go 2024, the valuation and capital raise environment is starting to shift. It's still a tough environment to raise capital. 2023 was probably the bottom of that scenario, but we continue to see healthy valuation, starting to see that trend changing. Investors are more cautious for sure. However, it is happening, and it is happening in a healthy manner compared to how 2020 and 21 was, where you just talk about anything digital or anything AI or a blockchain in those times, and people would throw stupid money at you, right? That environment has changed. However, it is starting to be healthy, and a healthy investment is, and as the interest rates go down towards the end of the year or maybe beginning of the next year, we will see a healthy competitive environment is, I think, somewhere around $300 billion waiting to be invested. So, and all of that, a significant portion of that is going towards AI. So fundamentally, if I summarize, AI platforms are impacting, influencing, and shaping the future of every industry. Now, when I say the industry, I mean products that we sell, the services that we provide, people we hire, the culture that we build, and how we look at profitability today. Like, there was a reason why I included Jeff Bezos' clip earlier, is short-term quarterly profit targets, annual profit targets, that mindset. Those business leaders who don't shift and change those mindsets will not be around for too long. Whereas those who are actually investing for next 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years will win the game. That's the important piece that I would like to communicate. I want to give some examples, including some Australian companies, right? So let's look at the transport sectors, what is happening, and how the platform plus AI is changing the way the value is created. In a transport as an industry, you look at autonomous vehicle. Everyone knows Tesla. Carbonics, small startup, playing in navigation, obstacle avoidance, decision making in complex traffic. I end up in a frequent debate about Tesla, where I go, Tesla is a platform company, not a car company. Tesla is an AI and a data company and not a car company, right? It happens to play in a car game. The amount of data that Tesla is collecting is enormous and far superior and far ahead of anything else. And that data is what's going to allow Tesla to diversify and play into different verticals that we currently can't even imagine. Traffic management. I love this company. I can never pronounce its name. Kapsch, Eco Traffic X platform, right? German origin, Australian business. Intelligent corridor. This is happening in the first time in the world in Melbourne. Right, Nicholson Street, Carlton Street intersection in Melbourne. There are at least 1,000 IoT devices, sensors that are on traffic lights, CCTV cameras, on-road sensors, all connected and capturing data and helping in the traffic management space. This is happening right here in our country, in Melbourne. I don't like policies of Victorian state government for a number of instances, but there are few things that is being supported, is being done phenomenally well, and these companies are really going to have a significant future. And I'm sharing this just really from the perspective of igniting imagination. There's a lot to cover. We're going to see creation of in-transit services, entertainment, as this autonomous cars come into existence more and more, right? Autonomous transport, dynamic pricing. Uber is using the surge pricing. This is what's becoming possible by the combination of platforms plus AI in a transport sector. If we look at education, we know Khan Academy has come up with AI-powered virtual tutors for students. to really create a personalized learning experience in a segment of one. Instead of in generic education, Khan Academy is really disrupting it. It's a passionate area of mine. Automated grading systems in universities. Harvard professor, ChatGPT like bot for computer science class, right? And YouTube, my son grew up watching YouTube videos and entertainment videos, right? I used to kind of ignore YouTube, but YouTube is probably one of the biggest education platform that it has become, right? Consulting, professional training and coaching industry. This is our company, Zingify, where we are playing a platform. This is our platform company where we are building a platform that is an AI-powered platform in a consulting, professional training and coaching industry. The vision is always on, smart consultant, advisor, coach, trainer, interacting with clients has a digital twin, right? It's a personalized advisory that understands the natural language, is context sensitive, nuance aware to personalize advisory, coaching, and training. That's our business. That's our game. That's what Jess was talking about. She's the head of product for, right? And they're really protecting, doing it in a way that protects the IP. Media and entertainment, I'm not going to spend way too much time, but YouTube, Netflix, these companies are creating AI created content, AI created news articles, which social media post or what news articles do you believe? You and I have those kind of confront, right? Which content is created by AI, which one is actually human driven content? Engagement, Netflix, we all know those tips and techniques, right? Manufacturing is being changed. An incredible company called Bright Machines, right, is creating full stack automation for manufacturing. Cobots, robots working with humans. Streamline assembly and inspection processes in a manufacturing environment, and a high quality products faster and much more efficiently. NVIDIA the other day came up with a digital twin concept in manufacturing, where you can actually imagine and simulate the entire manufacturing process before laying the first tile or the first brick of your factory. That's what's happening across the board, right? HR and recruitment nowadays, and I've said identifying the most suitable candidates, not the qualified candidates, right? That's where the AI is playing a significant role in job posting optimization, actually analyzing facial and verbal cues during video interviews. We are so used to talking on Zoom and interviewing people on Zoom. In fact, entire of my team, 40 people across 4 countries, 100% on Zoom. But when we interview people, you can actually use the software to see if the candidate is lying or cheating during the interview, right? AI is giving you real-time analytics in an HR and a recruitment context. You identify what's the propensity and likelihood of finding the passive candidates. What's the likelihood of that job switching? There are AI platforms that are coming that can tell you and give you those insights purely from someone's LinkedIn profile, right? So that's what's happening today from a screening perspective. You rather go for a passive candidate, but if the propensity model shows you the likelihood of switching is high, might give them a call if they're an ideal candidate, right? And they are always turns out to be the great candidate. So in a HR and recruitment industry, one of the biggest shift that we are seeing and we will see is people who do things, instead of hiring people who do things or complete tasks for you and for your business, you want to start hiring people who tell you and tell the AI what to do. It's the instructions of the AI and use of the AI that's going to get more and more prevalent, right? Here's what I would conclude. And this is an important slide, right? If we continue to build traditional businesses based on age-old business models, we are very vulnerable to the disruption and will be potentially be left with no value and nothing to show for it. And that's a very real, I don't want to be alarmist, but that's a very, very real risk and a likelihood that we all confront as business leaders, right? And it is only logical for those of us who are ambitious and want to lead. We have to prepare. I got to move myself. We have to prepare to transition to the AI-driven platform business. And the next parts of this presentations, I'm going to cover some of those pieces. Okay, here's the next thing, right? I want to cover some case studies. This is where I actually share about the type of work we have done with some of our clients. I wish I had more time, where we worked with our clients, we looked at the traditional business, a traditional product business or a service business, and we developed a strategy of a platform strategy and applied the AI to see what can be possible. Okay, so I want to share with, we don't have a lot of time, but I want to share with you at least 2-3 examples. Okay, so problem space, a childcare transport. Okay, it's not a very scalable business. Our client, real client who has worked with us for last 3 years, they used to have this company called Bluebird Childcare in Western Australia, in Perth. 3 childcare centers, award-winning business. They've been providing childcare services for 20 years. Okay, what they would do is their childcare educators will provide pickup and drop-off services of kids to parents. Right? Parents can trust the educators that they are leaving their kids with for 6 to 8 hours a day to come and pick up the little Emily and Johnny from home, take them to childcare, take them to school, take them to swimming class, music class. And these guys were providing that type of service for 15, 20 years. 3 childcare centers, 300 kids, right? They started working with us. We shaped their platform strategy. Now the platform is called Cargo. What does this platform does? We reimagined the complete business, said Uber for kids, right? What does Uber for kids look like? Well, we connect childcare centers, drivers, and parents to safely transport kids, right? Childcare centers hire and find vetted, certified educators and have them act as drivers. Parents have their app plus a web interface to book a casual trip or a recurring trip to pick up and drop off their kids. Childcare centers can dispatch jobs and to the drivers on the driver's app. Childcare centers have their own screen, drivers got their own app, parents got their own app. Everyone can see where a child is at any moment from a transport in a real time, right? Parents can see who the driver is, driver's safety record, history, and the use of AI is really for the duty of care exchange. When a child is left, there has been instances in Australia in a transport environment where a child was left on a bus, on a car under a hot Australian sun. There has been instances like that, right? And these founders, our clients, very passionate about safety of the children, making sure that the duty of care exchange is done properly. We are using AI to actually enable the highly integrated duty of care exchange to create triggers and alerts to avoid, not mitigate. We want to 100% avoid. The goal is 100% avoid 100% of the time. In last 2.5 years, we have done about 105,000 trips on this platform so far. Their core business has gone from 3 childcare centers to 12 childcare centers now. Okay, so the core business has grown 300-400%. The number of kids that they were coming as a clients have gone from 300 kids to now 3,000 kids, plus the parents and guardians, all interacting on this platform. More importantly, they have gone from a traditional childcare business to now a platform company that can be launched in a market as an Uber for childcare space. Very high valuations. We are going through the capital raise process now. Currently, the business is valued at about $12 million. What they did was use the tech, use the platform in their own core traditional childcare business to create the platform, prove the value chain, prove the business model, and now ready to scale to the next stage, right? That's an example of one of the client. Another one, right? Sydney-based company, PNS Securities. They used to provide security guards as a subcontractors, providing security guards to the main contractors or the venues, the hotels and pubs. And then the constant problem that they would talk about is security guards are not easy to hire. The need arises randomly. And then we created a marketplace platform that is powered by AI. We believe in MVP. It's yes, you want to conquer the world, but at the same time, launch sensibly. So it's a marketplace platform that connect drivers and various parties who actually need the security services, right? I'll move on to the next one. These are the American clients of us. The traditional business, Wallstruct as a company, manufacturer of easy to assemble machine manufactured steel frame kits for small homes, ADUs, they call it in US, tiny homes, to now a platform powered company. I think this is an older name called Assembly. What this AI powered marketplace platform does is connects the designers and architects with supplier of the materials, manufacturers of the materials, and trades with consumers. So if I want to build a new house, I can choose a design. I can make modifications. I know it's a pre-approved design in my council. I can find the list of materials and inventories, and I can connect with the trades all on the platform and pay on the trades. So the process of building a tiny house or a granny flat in my backyard is being made very simple by this platform. These are the platforms that we are currently building, working on with these clients. And when we work with this type of clients, it's always generally 5, 7, 8, 10 years game. We never have a transactional relationship with our customers, right? So this company, by the way, has now changed to Cassable. One founder is in Texas, Austin, Texas, and the other one is in Brisbane, right? So their traditional core business, Dubai and US, continues, and they're leveraging that business, the industry networks, the knowledge of how this thing works to solve the biggest crisis, housing crisis in US. I just wanted to share some of those examples to give you a sense of the type of work that can happen to ignite imagination of how a traditional product or service bricks and mortar business can actually transform into a platform company, and then how do you use AI to actually curate specific problems in the industry. Okay, here's the question. Where do you look for the opportunities? Where do you look for the opportunities this is a busy slide, right? But we got to understand the verticals of AI and horizontals of AI. So a horizontal AI company, its products and services enables data scientists to complete the data science workflow, right? It's what I call horizontal AI. And then there is a vertical AI, right? So horizontal AI, the simplest way to look at it is products are use case agnostic and are used to develop any AI-based solution. That's what a horizontal AI does, okay? A good example is Amazon provides cloud, Microsoft provides cloud, you can build AI solutions on those cloud. Doesn't matter, Amazon or Microsoft doesn't care what you build. NVIDIA provides hardware layer, they don't care what you build, they are the horizontal space, right? What we want to pay attention to is the vertical AI. What it does, it delivers a product or a solution that is based on AI that owns the entire workflow to solve a targeted customer need. And these startups develop a complete product from end to end, starting with understanding the business problem, offering a solution, monitoring the product performance, focusing on the end user, single large use case with a big market. That's the vertical. Let's take an example visually, okay? So the horizontals, you have a hardware horizontal, you have a cloud infrastructure, you have data pipelines, you have data layer, you have AI models and algorithms, and then user interface design. If you look at each of the horizontals, you have very specific, very large, giant companies, hardware, NVIDIA, or Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or Samba Nova is a startup. Samba Nova Systems is a startup. Their seed capital was $1 billion plus. So to compete in a horizontal space requires enormous billions of dollars of investment. Cloud infrastructure between AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure, Microsoft Azure, they have 99% plus market share, right? Data pipelines, you have Microsoft, Snowflake, bunch of other horizontal companies. Data layer, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, these companies play that role. If you and I had to make choices of where to play, I would not recommend anyone to play into a horizontal space. I'd rather focus on the vertical space. So what's vertical space? Is where you and I are solving a specific problem for a customer in a specific industry, a vertical use case. So breast cancer screening, there's a company called Vara. They use all the horizontals, right? Using the AI to diagnose and screen breast cancers and the number of instances and reduce those numbers down. And that Vara is actually doing that and using all the horizontals to build a very valuable use case to solve an industry problem. That's an important example, right? Tesla, self-driving cars. They use the entire horizontal stack to create the solution and a product called self-driving car. You have kids transport, the example I gave earlier about cargo. that we are doing that, right? Working with our clients, recruitment, nutrition, asset management. If I just move myself, retail, you got to, I think the question for all of us is, what's going to be your vertical? Again, we are not seeing, at least in Australia, we're not seeing major investments in our horizontals, but we are seeing significant opportunities and a really a wide space in a lot of verticals. As I said, coaching, wisdom, consulting, training industry, we are playing in that space as a Zingify platform, Zingify.ai. We are building a platform in that space. And that's my second business, while MVP being the first one, right? So I think the encouragement I will have for each one of you is to see in your industry, whatever industry it might be, really focusing on what's the customer problem and what's the vertical AI space. That's the place to focus on. That's where the opportunities exist. I love this example, this reference diagram that Gartner has come up with. It's called AI Opportunities Radar. Really important to pay attention. Bit busy, but I'm going to go and dissect this slowly, okay? So if you look at the diagram, there is on the left side of the spectrum, there is what's called everyday AI. It's my left. I think probably for you, it's right? There's an everyday AI and there's a game-changing AI. Right? And the everyday AI is what I call front office. If you look at external facing, so customer facing, so you have front office, your sales, marketing, customer service, right? Deploy a chatbot to interact with your customers on your website. Yeah, that's a good example from a front office, but it falls in a spectrum of everyday AI. What? Everyday AI is what everybody is going to do that. Everybody should be doing that. This type of AI solutions are cheap and are becoming commodity. Use ChatGPT, $20 a month subscription to give it to your marketing team to write copies, create landing pages, all those things. It's easy, it's cheap, and everyone should be doing it. It's commodity, and that's why it falls in the spectrum of everyday AI. Automating back office processes, your admin, HR, legal, finance, IT. Again, process efficiency, process automation. Nevertheless, it still falls into what I call everyday AI. Most companies, most businesses should be doing that, ought to be doing that. And if people don't do it, if businesses don't invest into the everyday AI, it's kind of too ignorant. You're going to get wiped out very quickly. But then there are companies who are playing the game at other end of the spectrum, right? They're literally reimagining the products and services that are AI enhanced, differentiated, and completely new value propositions. It falls towards what's called game-changing AI. It's external facing. That's why you have products and services that are consumer facing. This is really a framework. It's a radar for you to make a decision on where are you going to play, right? How should we think of things? Let me move myself a little bit here. So on the right side of the equation is a game-changing AI, the external facing customers. We got to think what new products, what new services we are going to create that's differentiated value or a completely new value in the industry. And don't think if you want to play the game-changing AI game, it's not really happening in a traditional sense. It's really more in terms of imagining the business completely, as some of our clients did. How do we make sure that the kids are being transported safely, enabled by AI and platforms, or security guards, right? It sometimes baffles me that those problems haven't been solved before. Anyway, so it's really a new value proposition. How do we create new value proposition through AI in products and services is where the game-changing stuff is happening, where you see exponential valuations. That's what we are seeing in that space. Versus the back end, the R&D, the distribution, the skills is the core capability that one has to pay attention to. Again, in a game-changing AI, the organization structures of our businesses has to completely change. I had to go through that. I'm still going through that in our business. The job positions, the job descriptions, the skill set is so vastly different than a traditional business if you want to be in a game-changing AI game, right? So overall, as a business leaders, and I'm a CEO running a business, you are a CEO or a business leader in charge of a business, the way to think about it is I call it a railway track strategy, right? Is there are two tracks on a railway, you need both of them, and both of them forward the game. One track is an everyday AI, automation of day-to-day processes, sales, marketing, customer service to create seamless experiences, driving efficiency in a business so current business is more optimal and more efficient. That's more of an everyday AI. I hear 99% of the conversation, 99% of the businesses focusing on automation and efficiency gains, and very few, less than 1%, is actually having a board level conversation or a strategic investments on a game-changing AI. My assertion, my prediction, how I personally feel about it is it's a game changer. The companies who are actually having a board level conversation, CEOs and the business leaders who are engaged in a game changing AI, they are the one over next 5, 7, 8 to 10 years really going to win the game. And this framework is there to really support our thinking and decision making. I don't think the left side of this you can ignore, but right side is the real choice to make. You got to choose your AI in a platform play. You got to ask the questions, what's the risk and reward appetite? It's not a high risk game now, at least in 2024. AI itself is becoming a commodity. How do you acquire the resources to capture the opportunity of the game changing AI? How integral is AI to your strategy? And I presume that's why you are here in this tonight. And when, the more important question is, when will the game changing AI drive you out of the business? And I say that with all the compassion, but the traditional businesses are going to be disrupted. And we see that every day. It's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if it will happen, it's a matter of when it will happen, right? So these are the questions that you confront these choices, and it's better engage with these questions rather than a quick answers. We face this spectrum of choice, and I do say it's a choice of, are we going to keep consuming the AI? Most people are thinking of, how do I use AI? How do I use this? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I use it's all falls into the spectrum of consumption of the AI. Mostly everyday AI. That's the question, that's the confront most people have. Versus, how do I create AI solutions and how do I create a game-changing AI? That's a very different question to answer. And whatever choice you make will fall somewhere across this spectrum. And there are entrepreneurs that we are working with. A lot of our clients are more towards the right side of the spectrum. We do have services towards the left end of the spectrum because, again, it's not something that you should ignore or anyone should ignore. The left end of the spectrum is a commodity AI. The real game-changing opportunity is on the right end of the spectrum, where you literally are willing to append your own business model as it exists for last 5, 10, 20 years, 40 years for some companies and some clients. It's really it's on the right side of the spectrum. So how do you move your business? One of the promise that we made to invite you to attend this meeting is that we'll give you the roadmap or the blueprint. This is the work that we are currently doing with our clients, and this is what we highly recommend that you do this for yourself in your business, right? It's like a step-by-step process. But if I look at the blueprint, right, you have first step, you have to reimagine. You have to engage in a rigorous dialogue, intellectual effort to reimagine the future of your business. The current traditional business industry, how will the value be created in that industry? That's always the first step. Those who've actually failed to take that first step don't have the chance. It's that reimagination. The second step is really the making the choices. It's exploring the various strategic options and making a choice of what role do you want to play. Are you going to be a victim of the disruption, or are you going to be actual troublemaker and be the disruptor yourself? And that's not everybody is going to be disruptor, but we have to make that choice, right? And what are our strategic options in our business? I think every CEO, every business leader has to make that choice. That's more of a second step. And then once you've made that choice, the third step is really the due diligence. Is this a good choice? And the due diligence from a risk reward perspective, due diligence from a financial opportunity perspective. When you make these investments, I'm not talking about let's commit $1 billion or $200 million. It's okay, what will it take? Playing in an AI in a platform space requires investment. It requires building a vision, selling the vision to existing shareholders. If you need external capital, selling it to external investors, pitch deck and all that, proving the business model. We got to, due diligence is to be about how are we going to acquire the customers? What's going to be the product and service propositions? What's our path to the first 100 or first 1,000 customers? I think someone shared earlier, John, you shared earlier, how do you grow and scale the current business? You build an AI and a product creation is one element of it after reimagination. But what's the, in an environment of a high acquisition cost, what's the go-to-market strategy that we adopt to reduce our acquisition cost, still maintain healthy margins? We got to do some due diligence, modeling around that, make some assumptions, document those assumptions, and can conduct a series of A/B testing to prove those assumptions, yes, no, or discover something new. That's the due diligence phase. Actually get out there to the target customer persona, actually having conversation with a potential competitor or a competitor who is currently a competitor, engaging with them and going, hey, discovering something about pain point, discovering what are they thinking, and it's like sticking your neck out. That's the due diligence space to really make an informed choice. This is not gambling. We are not gamblers. We want to make strategic investment choices, shape the future of our business. We've got to do some good due diligence. Every business, every investment is, end of the day, there is a degree of risk involved. However, let's do some good due diligence. Is it going to be profitable? Whatever promises we make to the board, or our spouses for that matter, or ourselves for that matter, we got to be able to have some science and mathematics and behind it so that we can make informed choices. That's the step of due diligence. Is it a good choice? And then we plan and execute. The planning and execution part is a very big part. It differs in each person's business, in each use case that we adopt. However, the first three pieces are common and must be applied and adopted, I think, from every business and every industry. So that's kind of what I say is a pathway. I think the way I look at it is you can't be gambling. We have to make these decisions responsibly. This is the best way to go about it. We have done this and taken about 60 businesses through this process. At some stage of this process, you have a go, no-go decision. You stop if things don't make sense. If things make sense, you continue, right? And we have managed to launch some cool AI platform companies over the last few years. Now, the last thing I want to cover is, why are people hesitant when it comes to this kind of transformation? And no matter what type of company and organization you come from, there's always hesitation. There's always these emotions that one experiences, whether it's experienced individually or at board level, right? But there are barriers that people go through. What are the barriers? And these are the barriers that I commonly hear or encounter. I don't understand tech. This is all for people who understand technology. Here's what I have to say about it. You don't need to understand tech. It's easy to buy a team of great engineers at a very competitive rates. Technology or coding has actually become commodity. You can hire those teams and manage through contracts in an experimental space. What you really need to pay attention to is your vision, your ambition, your specialist domain knowledge, your industry networks in your current business, a deep understanding of the customer and their pain points, and being able to market and sell. This is what you really need. You got to be business savvy. If you actually have those skills, and most business leaders who have built a successful business actually do have those skills, right? That's what's more important than actually a technical skills. This is another one that I hear often as a barrier. If I had the right people to automate our processes, it'll all work out and I'll be fine. Here's my response to those people is, your current people will never automate all the processes. They are there to keep the current business running, right? Process automation of the current business, the old outdated business model, keeps you in that old business. Like, what are you gonna do to buy a more efficient blockbuster, right? Not a lot. It's still an old outdated business model, right, for closure. So I would, those of you who are thinking of automation and efficiency, I just always invite you to ask that question, what are we automating? right? Is it an old business model that we are automating like Blockbuster? Don't do that. This is another one that I hear common. If I had customers who paid on time, that's the thing that I say. If the traditional businesses have accounts receivable, new age platform companies don't. The new age platform companies customers pay money every month, recurring revenue, and then or platform companies taking the revenue as a cut before their customers get paid. So there is generally no accounts receivables. Have you ever seen Facebook allowing you to publish your ads without as an accounts receivable? Mostly not, right? They charge on your credit card. So that's the thing. It's time to imagine that kind of business model, and that's the future of the business. This is another one that I hear again and again in terms of transformation. I wish my current team would really perform. Again, your current team is too busy running your business in an old, arcane, outdated business model that is being disrupted through the platform companies, right? Or the next one I hear is, I'm unsure where should I focus. There's too many opportunities and I don't know where to start. Here's the questions that people go through. There's too much noise on AI. I don't know who I believe and trust. AI is fast moving. There's lots of opportunities, but I'm not sure. I want to automate my today's business. Do I play a bigger game? It's like confusion and a dilemma. Well, we are covering all of those thinking frameworks to think from in tonight's session, right? This is the next one I've heard. What happens to my current business? My current business has fed me for last 10, 15, 20, 40 years. What happens? Well, here's what my response to that is. You got to bring the deep understanding of customer problems in your industry. Bring that. That's you gain that from your current business. You leverage your current business to test your new products and services. You have existing customers, you have staff members, you have existing suppliers and partners. Leverage that to transition to the new business. Use the current business to invest in the transition. Current business is still generating cash for most businesses. Use it to start investing for long-term bets. The current business's customers, partners, competitors will become participants and customers in a new business. And in most cases, current business will get stronger, as we have seen with many of our customers, right? This is a classic one. It feels easier to invest in familiar and comfortable. And I've actually had this quote, and I quote one of the client, I feel more confident and comfortable in traditional revenue streams compared to visualizing and imagining how the platform and AI-driven future will work in my industry, right? It's like being a frog in a boiling pan, right? I love this. No, I don't believe it's getting warmer, but it is. It's actually getting hotter. And for most business leaders, people are like that frogs in that boiling pan, not realizing they're about to die. This is the real current reality of lot of businesses. And only the bold and visionary will really survive and thrive, right? Here's what I want to conclude with. Your AI-powered platform revolution is just getting started. It's got 1% penetration. If you're playing this game already, we are at the beginning of this game. If you're not in this game, we're at the beginning of this game, right? You have to choose to disrupt or be disrupted. And every industry is going through this. I think if we look at 10 years from now, 2034, we look back tonight and go, the choices that I made actually shaped the last 10 years. And sometimes I don't want to be dramatic, but these choices are really going to shape the future. So you got to make a choice, right? You can do nothing, do it yourself, DIY, strategy, platform play. You hire big four consulting firms, or you work with us. And this is where I told you that I'll have an offer for you to actually, how can you work with us, right? So I'm going to cover that. I'm not going to disappoint you. I'll show you what that looks like and what is it that working with us could look like, okay? But these are your choices. And of course, you are going to make those choices. I'm not a sales guy. I'm a strategy and a researcher and an educator guy, but I'm going to cover you how it looks like to work with us, okay? Here's what our offer is. If you are not in the game and you have a traditional business, digital platform opportunity assessment, you got to play those three things, right? Reimagine your business and the industry, getting educated and informed to make informed choices, and conduct the strategic due diligence. That's the work that I offer that you do with us. Okay. What does it look like? That assessment look like is a very clear articulation of AI and a platform strategy. What does it look like right now in 2024, 2025, and 2030 and 2035? Literally a 10-year strategy. What does that look like? Shaping that. Second, what's the financial opportunity of actually playing that strategy, activating that strategy? When I say the due diligence, we will build the financial models, business model, the real numbers to identify what's the size of the game and the size of the spectrum. Whatever choices we made, whatever is the reimagination of your current business is, we will actually put numbers on it based on a proper market research. Number three, we will produce certain assets. These assets are necessary to engage stakeholders. Whether you have a stakeholder called your wife at home, or you have a stakeholder called an executive board, or you have a stakeholders called investors, right? You need certain level of assets to actually engage with them and have a meaningful dialogue of how to have this conversation of investment case, right? What are those assets that we will produce? We will answer these questions for your businesses. What does your business look like in the future that is driven from platform and AI? What is the business model? What's the financial opportunity for you and your stakeholders and shareholders? Who will be your customers and how does your business create value for them, right? How does your business make money? What's the break-even point for AI investments? What are the upside opportunities and downside risks? And what will be the value of your business? We got to answer these questions. Deliverables and assets that you will get working with us is your strategic options, documented, shortlisted with a very clear concept clarity in form of a press release. Your 1, 2, 3, 5 years goals. I don't go more than 5-year goals because what is such a fast changing environment, anything more than 5 years is kind of a oopsie daisy, right? Who's going to be your user personas? They might not be who they are today. And how do we exchange value? What's our model for exchanging value with customers, with partners, and between the business, with suppliers, right? What is the actual AI product or service proposition? We will design your AI platform product or service design. What does it look like as a 100% digital native business from day one? And what's going to be the pricing strategy that introduces that recurring revenue stream, right? What does a platform business model look like? We'll document that as a platform business model canvas. Your 5-year financial modeling, your revenue streams, your profit forecast, your top line growth, your cost margins, your valuation of the businesses. These are the assets that are necessary if you to give it to an accountant. We are not an accountant. I'm not an accountant. Some of this work, I do this myself. Some of this, my team will do this with you. Here's the critical thing is creating these assets. You can give it to your accountant, give it to a CFO to produce 3-way forecast. Okay. And then what's the next phase action plan to execute? Essentially building your business case for your AI strategic play. This is what you'll get if you choose to work with us. Normally we charge 10 grand, 7.5 grand is what's there today. If you book a session and you accept this offer for me to work with you, you pay fully refundable $500 deposit. We meet, we have a session. I'm going to pause here. If you have any questions, those of you who are keen to work with me can scan the QR code, pay a deposit of $500 and we'll get our work started with you. Okay. This is really about making that strategic choice. You don't necessarily need to have those answers or have made those choice. You will end up making those choice by virtue of the work that we do together. Okay, I'm going to leave this here, open it up for anyone who has a question or comments to make. And those of you who are like, what, Jai sounds like a cool dude, half intelligent dude, let's work together. I would love to work with you guys, right? In shaping the future of what your traditional business looks like. And if you have an AI or like John, you were talking earlier, tech company, I would love to get my hands on your business because you are already in that game, playing in that game, you are in that space. There's a lot more for us to work together, right? So that's my invitation. I would just open it up for the questions or any comments. Feel free to unmute, or if you are keen to work, this is the way you can work with us.
So it's really good talk, and I appreciate the feedback. I take it you can hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Yes, John.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of our journey, we've got the platform, we've got the vision for where that platform's going to go.
Yes.
We can leverage for consulting firms, clients. We get some of this strategic advice we kind of get from a non-exec board. I guess the difficulty in our industry is that we're working in the construction and engineering industry, which is incredibly stuck in its ways. Change is slow in that industry.
Yes. Yes.
And despite our massive amount of contacts and connections from the consulting business, the strategy for scaling the platform, we've got a smart platform that collects construction data. But the big issue in construction is you can't track and understand exactly what's going on because it's in an open air environment. It's not in a factory environment.
Yes.
So if you can solve the data problem, so if you can create Uber for a construction project and solve the data problem, you can run real-time analytics and diagnostics on that. And then and as people feed into your platform, when you collect their analytics and their data, you sell them productivity, but you take their data. So that's the value proposition from the platform that we're running. I guess the issue we wrestle with is, do you use private equity to accelerate that growth? That's the real question we've got to kind of, and the advice we've had regularly is that it's cheap to use debt than it is to give away equity. So that's the kind of decision that we've been landing on. And at the moment, the consulting firm funds it pretty well.
Yeah.
So those are the issues we're wrestling with at the moment. And I'm not sure where you would fit on that journey, because I think I'm saying very similar things to what you're saying. We're on exactly the same page. So that's kind of like where
John, in your scenario, you are already in the game. You have the platform. You are in the game. For you, it might be a different conversation than what I'm talking about here, in which case I would encourage you to book a session with me. And this is really for others as well. Just book a session with me, scan this QR code, let me move myself, and then no obligation. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a dialogue to see if there is any way me personally or we as a team can add any value to where you are at. Right? From an investment strategy or a go-to-market strategy, we have been in this space for last 6 years, but I have gone through 60 companies. And there are things that we have seen that now I would like to think that we can apply, especially in a construction space. We have had 8 platforms in a property and a construction in that overall segment. So there might be things that we can share that just adds value, even if we don't do business together. That's totally okay, but it'll be good to connect and get to know each other more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I would encourage you to, if you are those of you who are ready to work with us, this is the way you can work with us. And if you have a question, you can book a session with me. Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Sorry. Apologies. I've been in the background listening and trying to get to ask a question, but my children making a lot of noise in the background. So I kind of wanted to, I'm very interested in kind of the talk you've just given. I guess my interest is really more specifically in that healthcare space, which is where I am. And I think it's probably a really good conversation, and for us to have a conversation, because it's something we have been thinking about recently. But again, trying to do your daily work and then identify what is this area, what is this key possibility of an area that we could potentially pivot into based on the kind of service we already provide, using our existing clientele and all that sort of stuff. So I think what's been really interesting, for example, we do therapies, we provide therapeutic services. So one of the things that's going to be really quite helpful for us is for us to look at how we can innovate some of our therapeutic services into using AI, using, I guess, things like virtual reality and augmented reality, like you mentioned earlier. I'll be very, very interested to looking at how a healthcare service provider can innovate into becoming a platform-based There's a few different ones that already exist. I'm sure different kind of small scale AI based service provider. But yeah, we're very keen to have a conversation and understand that further.
Yeah,
If you've
definitely.
dealt with anything similar.
Yes. Well, there are 3-4 traditional health service providers we have worked to shape their platform strategy and AI play.
Yeah.
One was with occupational therapist.
Yeah, great.
One was in biotech space, in a testing space, laboratory and consumers and testing. So I would be keen to work with you and explore what's possible, right? These are the answers that all of us would like to think that we can give quickly, but I think there is a process to go through in discovering those answers and putting the numbers. And really, it always starts with not technology for the sake of technology, technology to solve problems that are experienced in a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like, as far as the everyday AI sort of implementation, I think I would probably safely say I was one of the first ever in this space to really start using everyday AI for a lot of our processes across the company. So that's already kind of well and truly integrated. It's now really looking at how do you get the AI to be an income generating source for a healthcare company where it's heavily reliant on humans, spending time with humans.
And that's where the real opportunity is.
Yeah.
It's where the real opportunity. You're asking a great question. You have a question?
I can't actually, because I'm on my phone, I am unable to scan the QR code. So it might be much helpful if you can send me a text maybe a little bit later. Send me a message with the information so we can book something very quickly.
Definitely, we can do that. Do you want to are you able to put your email or phone number in the chat box here?
Yeah, I'll do that now.
And then we'll make sure that we reach out to you. Yeah?
No worries, I'll put my email in now.
Excellent. Thank you. I had a question from Karen I saw somewhere. What if I only have the idea and vision but no income? Great question, Karen, right? So AI opportunity is phenomenal. There are problems to be solved, and I would love to hear your idea. The important piece is you got to be able to invest the bare amount of money, the minimum amount of money to actually do your due diligence. Should you even do anything further? Right? I'm happy to book a session with me. We can flesh that out. No obligation to you. The important part is always going to be, I'm not the guy who can tell you whether one should do this or not. We have to do the work to actually answer that question. Is it worthwhile pursuing this opportunity? And it always starts with, remember the vertical AI, right? It's got to be that vertical. It's a problem solving space, end-to-end product that solves a problem in a consumer for a customer, whether it's a business or an individual consumer, right? And going through this process will allow you to actually answer the question, should you look at this seriously? Should you not look at this seriously? Right? And that's my invitation. That's the opportunity for you. Okay?
Yeah, mine's in a similar space as your Zingify.
Zingify?
Yes. And presently I develop emotional intelligence for leadership and teams by partnering with horses. The limitation with that is it's face to face and it has to be to specific sites. So I was thinking of a VR or augmented reality version of the same thing. It would take a lot to develop, but that way I could take it into the organizations and with the system, and they could experience up to a certain level using augmented reality, and then use the face-to-face with the live horses as the cream type of part of the session. So they get the real biological face-to-face interaction.
It's a very it's very niche, and that's what I like about it. It's very niche problem to solve in a very specific industry. It's not like broad, and that's where there's a definite possibilities and opportunities. Obviously, these things require work and funding, but there's a lot of funding that's being attracted in this space. So how much is my guidance? Okay.
Yeah.
Subject matter expertise, knowledge, industry networks, these are your assets. You leverage these assets and start with something, a small investment of this amount, you will actually shape a very good business case for an investment by industry participants. Because right now, there's a lot of capital possible that is backing good ideas, seasoned, proven entrepreneurs. So definitely encourage you to explore working with us. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Somebody else, there was a question. Anybody else had a question or a comment? Just looking through the questionnaire. Because convention is accepted. It's a great quote there. I'm just catching up on the messages. Jess, is there anything that I need to cover that I might have missed in the chat earlier?
No, okay. Nothing missed. I think I would just move on to the next screen so people can book in with you.
Yeah, excellent. All right. So yeah, this is, if you're not sure whether you should make that investment, you just want to schedule a session with me, this is the best way you can schedule a session with me. Take your phone out, scan the QR code, and let's have a strategy session to see what might be possible in your business. And then you can make a choice, right? It's going to take you to my Calendly. This specifically is for Emerge attendee. It's about 1 hour session. You and I can hang out, talk about your business, what might be possible, and then possibly make an informed choice. I'll give you a few minutes to book your session. I'll just also ask, are there any questions that people have at this point? I know it's been a dinner time. There might be things going in the background, so you might be on mute, but I would love to see if there are any questions or comments.
You had any opportunity to do any kind of platform-based innovation on a product-based business?
Yes.
At all?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a little bit of a case study example to run us through?
Well, I think let me go back here, right? So one of the case study example I gave you earlier was this Wallstruck guys. These clients are in America, and they manufacture frames, aluminum and steel frames that gets used in houses, right? They have a specialized machinery for manufacturing those steel frames. And we looked at their assets. That was one of my case study, right? So I could go there, right? I'll just move away from that and see if I can go to that particular case study. Yeah. So this one, right? So the name of the existing business, Wallstruck, they manufacture easy to assemble steel frames, right? The kits that gets used in houses, right? And we transformed their business as it was a combination of marketplace plus software as a service platform, right? The marketplace component was really about connecting the designers, the architect, the suppliers, the material manufacturers, and the trades, right? As a matchmaking platform, as a front of the platform, but then software as a service platform for the suppliers, manufacturers, and the trades to actually complete the job, like a project management element, right? And that's probably the good example of, and they are currently in a capital raise process in US to really fully execute the strategy. They have made significant investment in this transformation, and we expect this will come to life. Since we did this work, the name used to be called Houseambly. It came out from the work that we did together, and it's evolved into what's now known as Casable. The founders have a way of communicating their vision, and there's a whole lot of engagement with investors that's currently in progress after a series of small experiments in proving the business model would work. Yeah, that's a good example, I would say, from a product. There are numerous I can cover, but maybe for when you and I catch up again, right?
Yeah, no, I think that would be fantastic. My kind of history, I recently acquired a orthotics company, and they sell one product and one product only, but it's a very, very good product. But I thought it'd be complementary to our allied health services and amongst other things that we deliver. So very interesting to see whether there is any AI platform-based innovation that can occur around it.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to explore and looking forward to it.
Thank you for your time.
Of course. I'm just looking, we're coming to the close of the session. If there is any other questions or comments, let's just while you unmute and you might ask, or you might want to put a question on the Zoom. Sometimes people are not comfortable asking question on Zoom directly. You can put it on the chat bot as well. There has been a question asked to me a number of times. What do you guys do? What do you focus on and what do you do? Right? The way our strength, we play by our strength. Our strength is strategy and business model. That's number one. Number two is product development. Number three, so we look at the engineering and AI and the data and all the technology build. Number three is go-to-market strategy. And then we have an ecosystem and we continue to build this ecosystem of investors and a capital, right? So what's the investment strategy? What's the best way to go about it? These are the four areas we play with. Our internal strength is strategy, business model, product development, and go-to-market strategy to acquire your first 100 or first 1,000 users. This is where our strength is. Jess leads the team and the strategy piece and execution. Not only we want to shape our goal, our vision, why when we exist as an MVP, and why I get up every morning in spite of whatever, right, is very simple for us. Is right here from Australia, can we create industry defining coolest AI platform startups right here from Brisbane? And over the next 10 years, if we can, our startups and our businesses that we incubated generate and disrupt and change those industries and capture the biggest market share, and we want to do that in 10 industries and 10 businesses, that's going to be the fulfillment of our dream, right? That's why we do what we do. And we want to work with brilliant visionary entrepreneurs and bring our expertise and our strength, our experience in those four key areas. We will depend on you for your subject matter expertise, your domain knowledge, industry networks, and your sales. Initial sales are always founder-led sales. We are wrapping our arms with business leaders through our ecosystem of our expertise and our skills, and that's why we do what we do. That question's been asked to me a number of times, so I thought I'll cover it. All right, we're coming towards the end of tonight. If there are no other further questions, again, I invite you to make your choice. Whether you directly work with us, in that case, this is the investment. You can pay a refundable deposit of $500 or book a session with us and see how we might play together. Okay, and that's the invitation. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted that you chose to spend your evening. It's Monday evening, it's a weekday, beginning of the week, listening to us, listening to me for last 2 hours very attentively and keenly. And I don't take it for granted. This is the time you could have been spending with your kids, with your spouse, with your family, doing something else, and you chose to spend this time in this strategic conversation. So thank you for being with us. We are here for another minute or so hanging out. We'll be in touch with you. Feel free to book a session, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you. And with that, I will not extend the time further. We will close tonight's session, and I'll stop sharing, and I will see you around the traps. Thank you so much, everyone. And Victor, you are the only one on the call. Robin, you are here. Great to have you. Great to see you here. I look forward to speaking with you guys and talk to you all soon. Thank you, everyone.